Hello everyone, my name is Anil Sharma, and in this video series we are going to study about VMware vSphere ICM, that's install, configure and manage version 6.0. The topics that we are going to cover over here is the introduction to the course which we are covering right now. Module 2 talks about software defined data center, so where we are going to talk about the architecture of the cloud, architecture of the software defined data center, the different components those are available for software defined data centers, and working on the vSphere client. Module 3 we are going to talk about creating the virtual machines, so where we'll have introduction to the virtual machines. We are going to talk about virtual machine hardware and the different virtual machine files those get created, and how do we create and use the templates from the virtual machines. Module 4 we are going to talk about vCenter server, so where we are going to study the vCenter server architecture, the different deployment methods those are available, how do we make use of the vSphere client and the inventory services, how do we license the vCenter server, and the different platform services those gets enabled when we are working with the vCenter server. Module 5 we are going to talk about configuring and managing the virtual network, where we are going to talk about what exactly the virtual network means, how do we create the virtual network, how to manage the switches. So under switches we are going to study about the standard switch and the distributed switch. Moreover, we are going to study upon the load balancing policies, how do we secure the network and the different ports those comes into the picture. Module 6 we are going to study about the storage, so where we'll see the different storage protocols those are supported by the vSphere environment, how do we configure the SCSI services, how do we configure the NFS, as well as how do we work upon the NFS or data stores, creating the clusters of the data stores, having the high availability of the data stores, and how do we exactly manage the storage. Module 7 talks about the virtual machine management, where we are going to study about using the templates, cloning the machines from the templates, how do we modify and manage the virtual machine hardware, working upon the vMotion and the storage vMotion, or we can say in the other terms the storage migration. We're going to working on virtual machine snapshots. So what exactly the snapshot is, how do we create the snapshot, how to manage the snapshot, as well as we're going to study about the backend process of the snapshots and the snapshot consolidation. Then next we are going to talk about the vApps. So what exactly a vApp is, how do we create the vApps, in which cases the vApps will be used, how it is helpful to the environment. Module 7 we are going to work upon the content libraries, so where we'll see what exactly a content library is, how do we create the content library, and what are the benefits. Module 8 we are going to study about the resource management and monitoring, where we are going to see about the monitoring the virtual CPU and the memory, how to configure the resource pools, how to optimize the best performance, or how to optimize the CPU and the memory usage. Then we are going to study about creating the alerts, how do we manage the alerts, and a few troubleshooting steps related to the resource management. And we are going to see a small part of the vRealize operations manager, so that is a very powerful tool for monitoring the vSphere environment. So we're going to study a bit about this, and we are going to have a separate series of the videos where we are going to talk in depth about the vRealize operations manager. Module 9 talks about high availability and fault tolerance. So here we are going to see about what exactly the high availability means, what is the architecture of HA, how the HA works, how do we configure and manage the vSphere HA for cluster, what are the different parameters those are used for high availability. Then we would work upon the fault tolerance for the virtual machines and the vSphere replication, and how to protect and restore the data. Module 10 we are going to talk about the storage DRS, or apart from the storage DRS we would also talk about the virtual machines, DRS, or you can say the virtual machine load balancing. We're going to talk about over here the different affinity and anti-affinity rules. Those comes into the picture whenever we talk about the scalability of the environment. Module 11 talks about the update manager and the maintaining the host. So here we would work upon the vSphere update manager. So where we are going to study how exactly to use the vSphere update manager for patching the ESXi service, updating the vCenter service. How do we create the patching baselines? What exactly the patching baseline is? What are the different remedies? Those has to be followed before you go ahead and patch the ESXi service and working with the host profiles. Module 12 talks about installing the vSphere components, where we're going to see about installing the ESXi servers, the deployment of a vCenter server, deployment of ESXi service. That's the only thing that we're going to study under Module 12. So in this course module or the upcoming video series, the very first module that we are going to cover is Module 12 is the first one that we'll be covering, not the Module 1 or 2. So Module 12 will set up the lab environment which we'll be using for the entire modules, and after that we would proceed with the software defined data centers and the virtual machines and so on. So after the completion of this particular module, you would be eligible for a VCP 5, that is a VMware Certified Professional 6.0 for ICM. Thank you so much. See you in the next series.